away, 12 days, 11 days actually away from today as we hold this program. So we'll be discussing the outcome of the poll that tested the views and opinions of some 12,000 persons across 100 constituencies in the 16 regions of this country. We'll also be looking at an issue emanating from the campaigning, the vigorous campaigning by the two main political parties in the country. It's got to do with the free SHS debate and matters arising, as well as how prepared the Electoral Commission is and other issues that have come up with regards to the ongoing campaigning activities in the country. So let's check out how the news portals and the various newspapers have been reporting these major stories, beginning with citynewsroom.com on the matter of the University of Ghana survey. Survey by UG's Political Science Department predicts 51.7% victory for Akufo-Addo. And that story on citynewsroom.com. 2020 polls. GUM's Osofuchi Abosom places third in survey. GUM, that is Ghana Union Movement. Yeah. NigeriaOnline.com. NPP will win 2020 election. University of Ghana survey. To graphic.com.gh. Election 2020. UG survey predicts one-touch victory for Akufo-Addo. To the matters regarding the free SHS, beneficiaries of free SHS will remember Akufo-Addo on December 7th. Information Minister Kojo Ponkruma. You can't compare Mahama's 48 Ghana cedi stipend for day students to free SHS. Dr. Oseya Oduchum, Deputy Minister of Education. I'm shocked Mahama claims he started free SHS. That's according to President Akufo-Addo. To the Daily Graphic. Battle over free SHS. Will it be the game changer? To the Daily Guide. Mahama fights Nana for free SHS. To the Daily Statesman. 2020 WAEC results shame free SHS critics. Akufo-Addo says MPP has got the plan for Ghana's development. To the Ghanaian Publisher. Akufo-Addo jabs free SHS naysayers. Excellent WASI results have shamed you. To the Custodian. Aburi Girls hails Akufo-Addo for excellent WASI results. The Daily Statesman. Mohammed's campaign riddled with lies, confusion. Akufo-Addo shocked by false free SHS claims. To the matters on the campaign trail. We will protect citizens and ballots during general elections. That's according to the IGP, Mr. James Opon-Bueno. Citynewsroom.com once again. NDC's task force to police 2020 polls illegal. NPP comes with a picture of Peter McMahon. Now, Ivor Green Street makes case for state-led development. Daily Graphic. December 7th polls. Go out and vote. NCC rallies electorate. The Chronicle. We are not in bed with government. Duke Mensah tells critics. The Ghanaian Times. Publication of voters' registration details. We are mandated by law. EC. Daily Graphic. Presidential election dispute. Judgment in 42 days. Supreme Court declares. The Finder. Free Wi-Fi takes off for tertiary institutions. Work is 80% complete on that of senior high schools. Dr. Baumia. The New Crusading Guide. Akufo-Addo fires Mahama, says his campaign is crashing on him, hence the lies and false claims. And the last newspaper, the Daily Heritage. I am coming to pay you. Mahama promises contractors. So these are the issues we are discussing this evening. Joining me in studios, Selorm Adonoo, head of features and articles here at City FM and CCTV. Welcome.
Thank you, Duke.
I've also been joined by Head of New Media, Kojo Akoto. Welcome.
Thank you, Duke. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for asking. So we'll begin with the issues related to the University of Ghana Political Science Department survey. 4 years ago, a similar survey was put out by the department. At that time it was disputed, unlike today where we are being told that this was actually sanctioned by the department. But in 2016, the consensus was that it was a group of researchers at the department with funding from KS, Konrad Adenauer Foundation, who did that work with almost certainty predicting the outcome of the 2020 election results. Now, Selorm, I would say your opening remarks or your initial comments on the survey put together by these 5 or 4 lecturers at the University of Ghana with regards to the outcome of the 2020 polls.
Well, thanks, Duke. I think our institutions of higher learning should be doing a lot more of these. Okay. And the University of Ghana, being a premier university, has a very strong political science outfit, political science department. I think they should be doing a lot more of these, not just when we are about to have an election, but on topical socio-political issues, so we know what the mood of the country is. We don't have to leave those things to civil society organizations alone, like the CDDs, etc. The University of Ghana, which is an institution of higher learning, should do a lot more of this, not just the political science department. Other departments should research and conduct such opinion polls on relevant, matters, relevant issues in respect of their department. So I think it's good. And I hope the issues which dogged what they did in 2016 about the survey not having been sanctioned by the department, etc., and so people trying to read meanings into the kinds of persons who put together that research, etc. I hope those issues don't arise at this time. And it's comforting to hear that there was some approval given to it by the department. I hope that is true, so that it tells a different story.
Well, we're told that the head of department, Dr. Mamije Chijando, was at the function that outdoed the results of the research, unlike 2016 when that was non-existent.
So she was there in her official capacity as head of department. So that's fine. So my attitude to polls is, polls are what they are. They are polls. The real poll will be on the election day. But what polls do generally is to test what people think. Whether people will tell the truth or not is another matter. But they generally give us a feel of what people are thinking. And what I think political parties should be doing is, of course, they should look at the polls, look at it for what it's worth, see what they can take from it. If they don't like something, well, they leave it as it is. But see what they can take from it and see what they can help themselves with. So if they say you are winning, yes, that's good. But doesn't mean you should be complicit. No, just take it in your stride and work harder. If they say you are losing, this is not the general election. It's just a poll. Look at it, and I should think it should rather motivate you to do more to prove the people wrong. So I think it's a good thing that we have institutional higher learning trying to do this. 51.7% for the MPP's candidate Nana Akufo-Addo and 40.4% for John Mahama and about 1.4% for Sofochi Abosom. I think it's welcome news. Let's see what the political parties do with it.
Okay, let me come to you, Kojo. There's a couple of things surprised me. Number one, the fact that from the views from the respondents, corruption is no more an issue going into this election. That's what was shocking. Secondly, shocked but not so shocked, the fact that GUM came third in terms of the pecking order. If elections were held today, the people that they'll vote for. What are the highlights, the key points for you from this survey?
Well, 3 things. The survey was done in 100 constituencies out of the 275 constituencies.
Swing constituencies, they say.
Sample size was about 12,000, 11,900 and some extra, 12,000, which is respectable. And they broke it down into different areas. For example, what would make you vote? One of the things that stuck out for me in that particular response table was the fact that some people said paying or getting paid. I received financial inducement to vote. That was for 2016, right? I didn't see same for 2020. Maybe they should have asked the question. So, in 2020, would you vote based on financial inducement? But that establishes the fact that the vote buying that we had been discussing happens, and it is happening, and it will go on to happen. Now, you mentioned Gum. How surprised you were to see him at number 3? I am not surprised, and this is something I've said on the Voters' Diary several times. Gum, also for Chabusum, Pastor Andrews, he's a religious entrepreneur. He owns 2 TV stations, or he runs 2 TV stations 24/7. Before he became a political candidate, a presidential candidate, he was known popularly as also for Chabusum. He was going around places, carrying out exorcism, right? Places where he felt there's a shrine, there is a lesser god, there is a witch, there is a wizard. He was doing that and was showing those things on TV around the clock, plus his church activities. And if you've noticed in Ghana, there are things that the masses gravitate towards, right? Drama, so dramatic politics, dramatic religion, dramatic sports. These 3 things. Drama. If you're able to do any of these things very well and you dramatize it, you get people to listen to you. So watch or listen to mass media sports broadcasts. You see, that kind of thing. Now, listen to political talk shows. A lot of times, even the issues are left to the back burner and they just dramatize things. Selorm, not so. Now, listen to the religious broadcast, especially the Christian broadcasts. And if you've noticed, over the past like 10, 15, 20 years, Christian airtime became prime in the mass market media stations, right? So let's say at Metro TV, Obinim and Prophet One were fighting for Saturday morning slots, right, on different networks. So he knows how to dramatize his religion and the activities he does as a pastor.
So he had a following, politicized his religious activities and gaining
and he had a following from there. And then he became a political person, right? And then he's also been leveraging the Kwame Nkrumah story and the Kwame Nkrumah legacy to push his message. And then compared to the others, he also seems to have distributed his message very well.
Okay.
For example, I have seen different tracks like 2 or 3 times. Oyibi, Amrahia, Dodoa areas. I have seen him. I go to Koforidua Lorry Park and there's this big GUM office. Even in Adabraka here, somewhere in Adabraka, there's a GUM office. So I think he's used these networks to reach out. When he was launching his campaign, I don't know whether that was the official campaign launch. He held an event in Swedro. I remember I was Swedro. Had all these prophets, Chacha, all these prophets, wine. They were all on the platform. And these people also have a following. You may think that, middle class do not release. Even people in the middle class sometimes go and watch them for comic relief. And in politics, when people get to hear you and see you often, you create an image in their minds. So I wasn't surprised because look at the CPP, look at the PPP, look at Ekuadonko, look at Hassan Ayariga, look at Walker, look at all the other candidates. I'm not seeing them out there as much as Christian Kwabena Andrews, and I think on that score he's pushed himself a bit. So I wasn't surprised that he was there. But if you look at the main issues that people were talking about, there is free senior high school in the issues. Previously, corruption was one of the big things that we used, the survey will capture as one of the big things. The economy was one of the things that was captured as one of the big ticket items. But this time, you look at it and they put government policy. So what would make you vote for this or that government? They captured it under government policy, even though there's economy on its own, which got about 4.something%. There's a government policy getting some 35 and over %, right? If you break that down as well, there are different items in there which also includes a bit of the economy. Okay. So you may not see economy as a standalone thing, but all the government policies are pushing economic development. So PFJ, this, that. So you see all those things. So it was quite interesting for me. The bit about corruption, even though corruption has been a winner of elections for parties, this time people didn't tell the researchers that it was a key thing for them. But free senior high school was something that people said was key for them. So these are some pointers that have come out from this research that were interesting for me. So establish that vote buying, people still are induced with money from the 2016 elections. And we've seen reports of same happening. There was an Uber driver I picked, he said somebody gave him a t-shirt, he opened it, there was 100 cedi notes in it.
Now that's no guarantee that the person will vote for whoever is giving
But
money.
The inducement is still ongoing.
Sure.
Right. And so it's something that we need to talk about. And the fact that the other parties gradually, I think the other parties gradually are losing their foothold in the country. And this year's election is just an NDC MPP thing. I do not see any other party getting any proper percentage or any proper votes to take any attention from the reporting. I think it's just going to be an NDC MPP thing. PNC, after Mahama, their numbers dropped. CPP dropped. It was when Indum brought his PPP that he became the third force. And then Indum, after 2016...
Oh, you mean CPP can shock their way back to...
I don't see the CPP shocking anyone.
Electric shock.
I don't see there may be doomsday happening for them on election day. I don't see them shocking anyone. Or they will shock themselves. So Christian Comnandrews has pushed. PPP 2016, they did well. Indum has had its issues. Now it's Bridget Jobenuku. I'm not seeing the PPP that I saw in 2016. 2016, I saw and felt PPP because Indum also deployed a lot of his assets to run for him, all the various radio stations and TV stations, his businesses and the assets of those businesses in instances were branded. So we felt it, but we are not seeing it now.
Okay. We'll take a break here. When I come back, we'll just wrap up on this issue and then move to the other matters on the table for discussion. Of course, your messages are also welcome. 0505858832, and as well as on the Facebook platform and on Twitter as well. We'll be back after this break. Stay with us.
As you all know, if not for our president, most of us would have been on the street or even in the market. For me, my parents said after GHS, I'm joining my mother in the market to help me cater for my other brothers.
As for me, my parents never believed in this free SHS policy. They thought it was never going to happen until they started enjoying it.
You know what? I think I'm the luckiest among all students. I come from a very remote village that does not even exist on the map. But thanks to Nanado's policy,
5 years ago, my mother had to sell her shop and get a loan before my brother could complete in SHS.
This is the man with good intentions for his people and generations to come. Girls, don't you think it's high time we give him a second opportunity to better Ghana?
ever since my dad died, it's just been my mom and I. And money has always been a big problem. But thanks to this free SHS policy, I'm in school and my mom is relieved financially. Guys, don't you think he deserves another 10?
Oh yes, he deserves another 10.
Are you ready for Angela's baby shower on Saturday?
Is that before or after Kwesi's wedding?
No more this and that. We really need to get everyone what they deserve.
But how can we get all in one weekend?
And don't forget Auntie B's birthday party.
Uncle T's children are going to school too. Hey!
We have so many anniversaries with different gifts to buy for different special people.
You and who?
Why don't you get Malcolm gift vouchers so they can get whatever they want?
Me, I don't want another dissing. I want my something.
Hey, you dance. The Malcolm gift vouchers, you can all get whatever you want. Remember, you get the same bargain prices from any Malcolm shop across the country.
Now, you can all get your credit.
Their 8-year rule in Ghana brought nothing but hardship and international embarrassment.
Of particular significance will be the enhanced powers of the airport. I'm missing some pages here.
What about you, Mr. President? Have you been offered a bribe before?
You mean as president?
As John Mahama?
As a human being?
As a person?
Any human being in the world would have encountered, corruption in a way, one way or the other.
What are you going to do about this astonishing rate of inflation? You're hitting 15%. People are suffering in very tangible ways. We've seen scenes in Accra that we don't usually associate with Ghana at all.
Ghana, poster boy of the African continent, economy was booming. Where did it all go wrong? And, with all due respect to you, on your watch?
Well, I don't know how to put it.
This is incompetence, clueless, embarrassing Ghana, embarrassing you.
Don't let us go back. Let's protect the progress we are making this December. Vote the NPP to continue with the leadership of service.
Welcome back. This is what the papers are saying. A couple of messages before we move on quickly. Abdul Mumin Wunam from Tamale says, it is of no doubt that the good people of this country are most grateful for the impact of the government to the growth and development of the country within the first term of the NPP, and they will surely give them the opportunity to continue. Sheikh from Zorko Bongo says, 12,000 out of 70 million voters cannot be the actual situation on the ground. For me, the research is just the normal politicking, and mirage victory being the order of the day if politicians become complacent. December 7th will surely dance to Bob Marley's song, Who the Cap Fits, Let Them Wear It. Wow. Emmanuel from Tadi says, fair enough with the various polls. My question is, were the same questions asked in 2016, the same questions asked in 2016, are they the same in this year's research as well? I think that so many things can happen before the December 7th poll. So, Selorm, I'll come to you quickly, especially with the findings of the research on and Christian Andrews, Kofi Osofo Chabosom, and his impact in this survey.
Well, I think Kojo has done a good job on that. Osofo Chabosom, he has a radio station, he has about two TV stations. Yeah. And you ask yourself, how many political parties in Ghana have TV stations they can call their own, apart from Indum, who uses the station for his businesses, etc., or as a business. But this gentleman is a church leader, he's a pastor, which means that he has a certain following on his own. I don't know how many branches he has across the country, but what I'm seeing is that he's been able to sell his message quite well to his church members, to people who around the country who have experienced him, because he moves around exorcising people of gods, etc. People know him. So if you have had an encounter with him before, you will tend to believe what he says. And one thing he leverages on is using the Nkrumah legacy.
Yeah.
Kwame Nkrumah invokes a lot of emotions in people. And because he has a TV station, he shows all these factories which were working in Nkrumah's time, how things were happening in Nkrumah's time, etc. And he runs commentary whilst these things are playing, that these things have been left to rot, nothing is happening. We have now become an import-driven nation, when in the past we could manufacture our own things. When he comes, or if he comes, this is what he's going to revamp. He's going to declare Freeport. When you mention Freeport, it resonates with quite a lot of people, or a number of people within a certain class in Ghana, because they tell you there's Freeport in Togo, the high duty, etc. That would be a thing of the past. Yeah. Whether that is feasible or not, whether that will fit our economic model, is another matter. But that is what a lot of the people feel, or maybe appear to like. The other fact is that because he's a pastor, and because we are a highly religious nation, he's believable. Forget about whether he's genuine or not. I don't think, I don't know whether he's genuine or not.
That's what people have to be telling.
I know he's a pastor and he has a church, he has a huge following. So pastors or church leaders generally are believable. So that leads me to the dying trust people have had for politicians, properly so-called, in the last so many years. People have grown to accept, if you like, that politicians will lie to you. They will say A and do B. They will promise and not do it at all. They just want your vote. So whatever it is, well, you may vote or you may not vote, but whoever will win will win. But here comes somebody who is believable because he's a man of God. And men of God are generally seen to be persons who will tell the truth, people who will be accountable, etc. Because they are not just accountable to human beings, but there's a thinking that they are accountable to God as well. So I think his emergence as the third force, if you like, in this survey, in just one survey, and is a distant third, I think at 1.4% or so. So that's like a distant third, but it's just quite interesting because he's just coming on the scene, and there's been traditional parties like the PNC, CPP, even PPP, and some other parties, and he is just coming first timer and placing third. That is why that's what I think is bringing the excitement. But I pin that also on the fact that there is dying trust, with people when it comes to believing politicians, and the issue about corruption. I'm not saying church leaders are not corrupt, but when church leaders talk about corruption, we think because they are God's people, they mean what they say, and so they'll be able to deal with some of those things. That's a problem. So people don't trust politicians to solve their problems. You mentioned you mentioned that it's surprising that corruption is not an issue. Indeed, the CDD did a survey a few weeks ago, and corruption placed about 6 on the list. The first was infrastructure or roads or something like that. I think it's because the focus hasn't been on corruption this time. In 2016, the politicians made corruption an issue, the MPP especially, made corruption an issue. So all the media discussion, or most of the media discussions, newspaper reports, etc., because a political party made it a point to push the corruption angle, those were the things that the media reported on every time. And we have a lot of newspaper review shows in the mornings, and we have a lot of shows in the mornings which discuss only newspapers. So once the things are reported in the newspaper because politicians have said them, those things become the basis for discussions. And once they discuss, they go back and forth, and that forms the thinking, and that actually becomes what people hear every morning and every time. So that fills their minds, and so it shows in the kinds of things they expect. However, in the CDD report, I think roads and infrastructure came first. If you recall, around that time, there was quite a lot of discussion around infrastructure and roads, and so I wasn't surprised that that reflected in the survey. So I think it's a function of what we have decided to make the issue. Now, MPP cannot really talk about corruption, and NDC can also really talk about corruption, because the MPP promised to do a lot on the corruption front. People think they've not done enough on that level. They think they have done well. NDC lost the election arguably because of allegations of corruption. And so if NDC finds it difficult in coming out to talk about corruption and to describe the current regime as very corrupt, though they try to do that. But is that believable? And MPP too, can they make fighting corruption an issue, given all the scandals we have seen in the past? So there is an issue with each of them making corruption a matter, because it won't go far, because they know they've not done well as far as fighting corruption is concerned. So you've had the chance, you've not fought it. The other person who had the chance, he didn't fight it. What else are you going to tell us? So it's in their interest to move the discussion from there. That's what the media report. That's what the media is now reporting, free SHS, reporting other things, because that is what the politicians are making the issue.
All right, so let's move on from the discussion regarding the political science survey to free SHS. Of course, we've had cause to mention it, but this week on the campaign trail, candidate Mahama of the NDC mentioned that he began the program in 2015. President Akufo-Addo has had cause to respond to that, and it's become, whole discussion, open a kind of Wells Pandora's box. Debates actually unfolded on who actually began the free SHS. Is the debate being situated within the right context, Kojo?
Good question. Is the debate being situated in the right context? I think this debate is exposing a lot of dishonesty when it comes to the Free Senior High School conversation. Because when Free Senior High School started, I don't know whether the politicians, especially those in opposition now, that is the NDC, had not formed their views properly about free senior high school. But different people said different things that is coming back to bite them now. So they say, well, we started free senior high school progressively. But then you read other stories and other comments, and some people were saying free senior high school wasn't good for us, or they'll kick against free senior high school, or was going to bankrupt Ghana, right? And you look at the policy itself. You know, the Constitution enjoins us to work to achieve progressive education, even to the tertiary level.
Yeah, directive principles of state policy.
Yes, so the NDC and their flag bearer says that they started progressive senior high school, where certain elements were being introduced gradually. Now, the main word there is progressive. Now, the NPP says they did free senior high school. Now, what's the main descriptor for that? Sudden, right? So whilst NDC said they started progressive free senior high school, NPP came in and did a sudden free senior high school where they were not waiting for the other component, what NDC said they were waiting for to gradually. They came and they said, let's do it. When they did it and they encountered problems with infrastructure, they said, well, let's do double track and work on adding more infrastructure to ensure that we cancel double track in due course. So who started free senior high school? The question is, which type of free senior high school are you talking about? If you're talking about the progressive free senior high school that the NDC is talking about, what they launched, what they started implementing, and mind you, historically in the northern parts of the country, if Selorm will back me up on this, there is an element of free senior high school that was ongoing in the northern parts of the country to allow people up north to get access to education, to drive development to the north. Because when education started, especially senior high school education, it started in the Cape Coast areas, came down to Accra, and then Kumasi, right? So it was basically situated down south. So if you do an analysis of the senior high schools within the country, schools in Ashanti region alone could be more than schools in the northern region, Savannah, northeast, upper west. So we're doing the boarding system so that everybody could have access to education. But when we decided to expand, the deprived areas were given special concessions so that children there could get education. So what senior high school are we talking about?
Okay. Selorm, you have the last 2 minutes, unfortunately, but I don't know how you're going to box all the ideas into just 2 minutes.
So the free senior high school is kind of, of course, a constitutional imperative. It's in fact, it's a human right under under Chapter 5 of the Constitution, and also captured as an aspiration in Chapter 6 of the Constitution, the directive principle of state policy. And Article 25, 1B talks about secondary education and its different forms, including technical and vocational education, being made available and accessible to all by very appropriate means, and in particular by the progressive introduction of free education. So that is where the term free progressive education, began from. So if you recall, in 2008, 2012, when Adonoo was talking about free education and it was kind of catching on, the NDC said it is nobody's vision or manifesto promise. It is a constitutional aspiration, which we are all working towards. So that's it. Whether NDC introduced free SHS or not, again, it depends on what kind of free SHS are you doing. This is how our politicians have made us. So now there appears no absolute. The NDC in 2015 introduced or launched the progressively free senior high school or free SHS, which was launched in the Konfi Tuam area when they were commissioning the community day senior high school in that area. So from that point, about 320,000 day students benefited from the project or from the program, and eventually about 120,000 boarding students were to benefit from it. Whether they did benefit to its fullest or to the full degree is another matter. Then MPP comes less than 1 year in office. At a program at WAS, the president says that free SHS was going to begin in September, and indeed it did begin. a number of similarities and differences exist between the NDC kind of free. So indeed, so NDC did introduce a kind of free SHS. MPP also did same. The only difference, I think, is the focus the program got.
Okay.
The NDC treated it as a general education program, whilst the MPP focused on it, developed a whole, should I say, directorate or department to take care of that, and so put in more emphasis and more resources. Indeed, about 436 million seed money was voted for that, whilst the NDC's own, because it was day students, around 12.2 million CDs was voted for that in the first year.
Right.
A number of things.
I have to cut you. Unfortunately, I'm sure the issue would come up again with a few days to election. I wish I could read some of your messages, but that's how we'll have wrap up today's edition of what the papers are saying. A very special edition in terms of the time. But keep watching City TV. My name is Duke Mensah Opoku. I in studio Selorm, Adonoo, head of features and articles. City FM, City TV, as well as Kojo, Akoto, Boateng, head of new media. Voters' Diary is up next.